The people in power don't want you to know the truth about Russia or China or India or anything, because what they want to be able to tell you is you need to fear Russia. You need to fear China. Why? Because now from that fear, from the ignorance you now have fear. And now you're looking to them saying, well, how do you protect us against them? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because we're going to have a defense budget. I know like $800 billion sounds like a lot, but believe me, we need it to protect ourselves from those Russians, those Chinese, and even those pesky Indians are over there. We have to protect from everybody because they're going against the rules-based international order. Only America can tell the world. We are the exceptional nation. You've heard that before. We are the exceptional nation. And that's an extension. When you can do a little bit of checking into history, where does exceptional nation come from? Reverse engineer it, manifest destiny. And what does manifest destiny mean? It means God has reached down from the heavens and touched Americans, but not any Americans, just us white guys. He only touched us at first, and so I'm now empowered by God to go across plains. Wait, there's red men there. Too bad, so sad. I'm sorry, Mr. Red Man. I'm going to kill you, murder you, slaughter you, steal your land. But there's black people back there working in the fields. That's how we can do this, man. We got black people slaving in the fields so we can get the income to push the man. God has touched us. And now when we get to the other end of the continent, we expand this into global manifest destiny. Now Americans have to go out, and we're not just Americans, we're Christians, because God has touched us. The Christian God, not the Muslim God, not the God of the Chinese, not the God of anybody. Just the American God has touched us now to go out and proselytize in the name of God around the world, spreading Christianity and all that. That's how America interfaces with the world. That's literally what it is today. So when we say we're the exceptional nation, we're saying that God has blessed us, and therefore God has damned everybody else. Everybody else is lesser than us. Now, in America, we've had to come to accept the fact that, okay, black people are equal too. We didn't want to do it, but we did it. Okay, black Mexicans, damn it. Okay, well, Koreans. Okay, if they come in and they call themselves Americans, then God touched them too. We'll accept that. But anybody who doesn't come in and call themselves American, I'm being facetious here, but it's the truth. You know it's the truth. And that's the insulting part. Because imagine now if you're a Russian with your Orthodox faith that predates America. So before God reached down and touched us in the 1800s, Russia had the Orthodox Church. I'm not here singing praises of the Orthodox Church. I'm just saying that it existed before God decided America was great. So some Russians like to believe that God thought Russia was pretty good back then too. Just like the Greeks like to think that God thought the Greeks were good. The Romans are like, hey, Catholicism, we were good too. And there's some other people that around the world saying, wait, we were the first Christians. God thought we were good too. And then there's the Jews who say, we're the chosen ones, baby. Then of course the Muslims come in and say, y'all got it wrong. Allah knows the best. God touched Allah. So God's been touching a lot of people before he touched Americans. But we're disrespectful of that. We're totally disrespectful of that, of every faith in the world. We disrespect every faith in the world. And that we disrespect all cultures in the world. We disrespect all peoples in the world because we are exceptional, which means they're not. How insulting can that be? And so that's automatically the way when Americans wake up in the morning, they may not know it. I mean, I think most Americans don't realize the inherent prejudice that exists within them just by being American. Because if you sit there and you turn on your television and you hear an American politician say, we are the exceptional nation, and you don't puke. If you go, okay, then you're the problem. You're the problem, not the politician. You're the problem because you just sat there and accepted it. You went, yeah, I can live with that. We're the exceptional nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not the exceptional nation. I just told you the Chinese do better trains better than us. The Russians do subways better than us. Everybody does things better than us. We're okay. We could be better, but we're not the greatest thing in the world. There's a whole world out there filled with billions of people, most of whom are smarter than the average American. I mean, that's just a sad statement of fact. If I took a Russian history text into an American school, opened it up and asked Americans about Russian history, they'd all go, I mean, hell, I could take an American history book into an American school, open it up, and they'd still go, what? There was a revolution? Really? I could take that book to Russia, open it up, and they'll tell me everything about it because they study it, because they're curious about the world they live in. See, the Russians are actually good global citizens. The Chinese are even better global citizens because they have economic reach. China just is something amazing. I'm jumping all around here. I know that. You can shut me up anytime you want to.
No,
China,
no,
China
no.
just, we've been instigating trouble in the Middle East forever. I mean, we just had, I think, Nick Price come out and say, America's been the most stabilizing factor in the Middle East. If it wasn't for America, the Middle East would have descended into chaos. And I'm like, dude, have you looked at the Middle East lately? It's already descended into chaos, and it's because of America. We are singularly responsible for everything bad happening in the Middle East today. And one of the things we've been doing is encouraging a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. We've been doing that. We had the Abrams Accord, which is going to bring Israel into the mix. So now the Israelis and the Saudis are going to work together to form a crescent of chaos to confront the Iranians in that area. And the Chinese went, crescent of chaos. That's bad for business. You see, it's very difficult for us to do business in an area where there's chaos reigning. So the Chinese stepped in and went, hey, Saudi Arabia, Iran, I'm here. Guys, we need peace. We need you to sit down, shake hands, start diplomatic relations, get that non-aggression thing back up and start working together towards a better world. And the Saudis and the Iranians went, we like that. We like that idea of peace. America's never offered peace. America only offers war. We like peace. So they did the deal. And now, and a lot of people are going, well, that just resets the clock. That just takes it back to 7 years ago. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, there's a thing called BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. It's this economic forum that's challenging the G7. People know the G7, the 7 most influential economies in the world: the United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Canada, Italy, all of them. But if you chart out their gross domestic product and then you convert it to a purchasing power parity, PPP, and you put it on a chart, something interesting happened last year. The actual real purchasing power of the BRICS companies, just the countries, just those ones I named, went up while the G7 went down. They crossed over. BRICS is more powerful economically than the G7. Shh, don't tell the G7, they'll get really upset. But now here's the thing about BRICS. The G7, they're never going to be any more in the G7. They used to be the G8, but they kicked the Russians out. And the Russians went to BRICS, so it doesn't matter. But the G7 is the G7. That's it. They're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Germany's economy is collapsing. Great Britain's economy, they're in recession already. Our banks are failing. We might go into recession. You know whose banks aren't failing? Russia. Just aren't failing because they have sound economic practices. But Saudi Arabia and Iran's already submitted an application to BRICS and has been approved. So they're going to become a BRICS. Saudi Arabia's going, we want some of that too. So they're going to apply. Everybody's applying. Everybody's rushing to join the winning team of BRICS. So remember that graph where they had that crossover? BRICS is going up, is going down. BRICS is about ready to hit afterburner. They're going to get some of that nitric oxide to put on the back of their car and hit the button and boom, just like what's that movie with Vin Diesel?
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. They got that, they always have that little button they hit, hit the button, boom, boom, and then they go. So BRICS is going to hit the button, wham, goes every time because they're getting every big player. Meanwhile, we're just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And you know who did that? China. I think God reached out and touched China. I think China is the exceptional nation.